Okay, so from here forward, I have to watch what I say.
I think
Ah, look at
you're
that.
already done. Yep.
Uh,
Yep. So, all right.
okay.
Jen, is it now you have Jennifer? You go by Jennifer now that you're
Nope. I go by Jen.
okay, still Jen.
Yeah. Yep.
Jen Zawinski, Jennifer Lee.
Jennifer Lee.
Thank you for being
Yeah.
here. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. Jen, I'll let you introduce yourself and then I might fill in a little bit extra.
All right.
Who are
I
you,
mean,
Jen?
I was looking at my list of questions. So, um, I am Jen Serwinski Lee, and I live in Troy, Michigan. I am a middle school Spanish teacher. I have been, I'm concluding this week my 23 years of teaching. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that you're only finishing up this week. That's also amazing.
Why?
Because
Have
you
you been
guys
done?
start yeah, we were done May 22nd or something.
Oh my gosh. No, we're officially, we're done assigning work, but then as you know, all of a sudden
Exams.
kids are like, hey, wait, can I still do
Wait, let me
this?
get this in, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we're done with that. We have some professional development tomorrow, and then our last day is Thursday.
That's amazing.
I've been married for almost 16 years and have two kids, a 14-year-old daughter named Brooke and an 11-year-old daughter named Olivia. So they are
Awesome.
finishing up. One just finished 8th grade, one just finished 6th grade.
Very cool.
So, and
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my very messy bedroom on the floor trying to make sure I have enough light for people to see.
It looks perfect. It's awesome. I
Thanks.
met Jen. I guess we were freshmen at Bowling Green in
What year did you graduate?
98.
From Bowling Green?
Yeah.
So I'm a year
You
older
oh,
than
you were
you.
you older. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I was a freshman, you were a
Yep.
sophomore.
Yep.
In my fraternity, connected to her sorority house. And when you say connected, people probably wouldn't understand. They were connected.
So fun. It was so
But it's
fun.
crazy
Oh
when
my
you think
gosh.
about it. Just like literally
Yeah.
our hallways, you look down
Yep.
the Sigma Chi
Yep.
hallway and you see into uh, the Alpha Gam hallway.
Yeah. And for
It's
2 years,
crazy.
I lived in that connecting room. I was in 212 for
I
2
remember.
years. Yeah. Which
And,
was the best.
oh yeah. So and then I was your houseboy for
Uh
probably
huh.
those 2 years.
I did use
Making
the word kitchen boy when I was talking about you. It felt very uncomfortable. I was like,
houseboy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Making dinners.
And
Watching
it was you and
Creekmore.
Chad
Yep.
for both years and somebody else.
When I started, it was some guy, and I don't even remember who it was. So I was brought in to help somebody else, and he
Yeah.
was like a sig ep
Yep.
for my first year, and then I brought Chad in. So
Okay. Okay.
best job on earth.
Aw, you're so sweet.
It was. All right, so Jen, we are doing
Okay.
"Where the Crawdads Sing" by Delia Owens.
Yep.
Very popular book. I'm going to
Yep.
read the cover as I do, and then we'll
Yep.
get into it. For years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So, in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be touched and loved. When two young men from town become intrigued with her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. What brought you? I mean, I know, I think I know this answer, and I didn't
Okay.
put this. What made you pick this book up?
Oh gosh. It was talked about. It was
Yeah.
chatter, and I was like, okay, now I'm intrigued. Everyone who's reading it says it's good, so
And I honestly, I don't. I mean, sure, you get the books like that, but I don't think I've seen one in the last 5 or so years that has been this hyped up. Can you think
so
of another one? Maybe Gone Girl, but I don't even know if it was this much.
so the one that I just finished reading, I think, is on its way to
What is
being
that?
like, it's called American Dirt.
Mm.
And I just posted a picture today. Like
But that
it
gets a
took
lot
me-
of criticism, though, right? That's
yeah,
controversial.
yes, because it's very current and it's very overtly political when it
Right.
talks about the plot. And I didn't even know the plot, but I was like, oh,
Right.
people are reading it, so I think I'll
Right.
try.
Migrants. It's about migrants in Mexico, and yeah.
Yep.
Is it good? Do I have to
Super.
read it? Is it
It's
okay?
yeah. My one girlfriend who just read it before me, she was like, I feel like it should be required reading at high school level.
Especially you teach Spanish, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
And
good.
I'm at the middle school, so a lot of that kind of escapes my kids with the exception of like what they hear. But
Mhm.
I feel like some of my daughter's going into high school and the recommended reading, I don't know what the curriculum is that goes along with it, but I feel like this could definitely be something powerful as far as political discussions.
Well, maybe we'll be back with
Yes.
this one next year. Right?
I'm on
Awesome.
next year. We could
Well,
I'll remember the story if we talk about it in like August.
Well, we were just talking about that. Both Jen and I had read this book a little while ago, and we
Yeah.
both had to go back. Actually, a couple books I've done so far, and I'm not. This is episode number 8. I
Okay.
think I've had to reread 3 out of them so far. This one I didn't, just because I was able to go back and take notes, and it came back to me pretty easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing that with a lot of books, and I say next year because, believe it or not, I'm taking off just the holiday season,
Yeah.
but I'm booked through
No pun intended.
yeah, exactly. Good. Till mid-October. Good one. Till
Wow.
mid-October, and I'm going to start back up in February, and I already have the first 3 episodes booked then.
Holy
Isn't that crazy?
smokes. Yeah.
It's
How do you
nice.
have so many friends?
They're just, I don't know. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I bag them. And some people, the nice thing is like I'm doing with you.
Yeah.
Say, hey, you're coming back. And they're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Because it's easier than you think. See? Pretty easy.
It is. You're right. It is.
Once you get in there.
I'm going to tell you right now that the questions you gave me, we're going to skip number 2. You told me I had to introduce myself, and then you said choose a paragraph to read. I'm like,
no.
I don't think I can do that.
Okay. Well,
just because I don't know the text well enough right now to like pick a paragraph.
Well, and what I do, I don't know about you. Do you mark up your books?
No, because I usually read them either digitally or from the library.
Oh, my poor books. I mean, my poor books are just ridiculous. See them? They're just so.
I have seen you post pictures of that before.
Yeah,
yes,
they're bad. I actually feel sorry for my kids. People are like, oh, when your kids get older, they're going to have quite a collection, and it's like, if they can read them. I don't know if they can read them. I mean, honestly, they're bad. So for me to pick a paragraph, it's easy because I like circle it or have so I just go back and see which one did I circle. So I'll do that when I talk about setting.
Okay, fine.
So pick that book. I'm going to read that paragraph now. So we're going to find out where we're at. This girl, let's see, page. And it talks about this place called, what is the place called? Page 8. That's what I'll read. I always like books with maps too. This has a map in it.
I did not know. And so back to American. No, not until I pulled it up digitally today. I was like, oh, this would have been so helpful.
Yeah.
American Dirt has an amazing map of following her journey from Acapulco to the to the border. It's so I was like, yeah, okay, go.
Did they go through Zihuatanejo on that trip? Do you remember?
No, they were not channeling Shawshank Redemption. Nice try.
Well, that's where my uncle lives. He's lived there for 25 years. So I've been there 3 times.
Oh.
And it's an awesome place. And so Acapulco is here.
Yeah.
And along the coast, it's like a drug route, right?
Yep.
They go right along the coast, and they pass through Zihuatanejo.
Okay.
All right. So I digress.
Yeah.
Page 8. I will read the setup. Maybe it was a mean country, but not an inch of it was lean. Layers of life, squiggly sand crabs, mud waddling crayfish, waterfowl, fish, shrimp, oysters, fatted deer, and plump geese were piled on the land or in the water. A man who didn't mind scrubbing for supper would never starve. It was now 1952, so some of the claims had been held by a string of disconnected, unrecorded persons for 4 centuries, most before the Civil War. other squatters on the land more recently, especially after the World Wars, when men came back, broke, and broke up. The marsh did not confine them, but defined them, and, like any sacred ground, kept their secrets deep. No one cared that they held the land because nobody else wanted it. After all, it was wasteland bog. So
I
I
read
thought that
that.
was,
I reread that today, actually.
yeah, I thought it was a really good description because the main character, her name's Kaya.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about her in a second, but she is called the Marsh Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Call her Marsh Girl, and I think that gives a pretty good description of the nature she's living in. It seems, even though it's 1950s, it's probably, you know, as far as most America goes, it's probably more like turn of the century.
Yeah.
Really, really back there. So tell me, let's see, Kaya. Kaya grows up with nobody, right?
Yep.
Her mom. First thing we find out is her mom runs off.
Mm-hmm.
Her sisters are already moved out.
Mm-hmm.
Her brother takes off, and then her dad finally leaves. So
Mm-hmm.
she's by herself.
Yep.
She raises herself.
Yep.
How did you feel about that? Do you think that's believable?
So
Did you
part
buy
of
in?
part of why I was struggling to remember this book is because I feel like I have read several books in this time period, setting, whatever, of like, I read Before They Were Yours. Did you read
Right.
it?
No, but I want to.
See, there's
About
another one.
yeah, that's in Tennessee, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, yes. And the lady's name was Georgia. And then there was another one I read called Sold on Monday, which took place during the Depression.
Oh wow.
So anyway, you're right. You
Same
can just
type
go
of
off
thing.
on tangents. Yeah, tangents. Yep. So the fact that in 1952
Mhm.
that a girl would be left to her own devices in right after the post-war era,
Mhm.
wouldn't surprise me in such a poverty stricken place, because I
Right.
really, again, if I'm trying to be literal and connect it to something, there's a lot of kids right now that probably do have a lot of survival skills that
Yeah.
we don't know about.
Right.
So
True.
I could obviously it's fiction, but I could see it happening to a certain extent. Yes.
And I think you're right. Now that I think about those things and I think about that time period more, I think it was just one of those things where your modern mind comes in. Like, even though, the schools went out to get her,
Yep.
they tried to find her. They didn't try too hard.
Yep.
I guess what just kept getting back to me is, is you got other characters that just know she's out there. She's probably 12 years old.
Yeah.
With no one else. Nobody's feeding her. Man, how does society just do that? But I guess that is. It's reality that isn't talked about a lot.
If you
And now
think
it's
about
coming
it
out.
now in terms of like upper middle class suburbia and the urban poor, it's easy that people can just be like, well, I mean, we look at our current situation. Like,
Right.
well, we tried, and that we're just gonna let them, fend for themselves. We tried.
Well, it was funny when I went and first taught at Cincinnati Public. A lot of my students lived in this housing units that I never knew existed.
Yeah.
Where they had gone through the foster care system, and some reason or not they're out of it, but they lived in these apartments, and literally 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds living by themselves.
Yep.
Waking themselves up every day for school.
Yep.
And that existed right here in my city, and I didn't know that existed. So
yeah,
I guess now that we talk about it, see, that's what this is all about. Now it makes more sense. Definitely.
I mean, right. And obviously there are fiction, there's poetic license, if you will.
Mhm.
Like, that could never happen. But for the most part, I could see maybe at the age of 7 or wherever she was at the beginning was a stretch. But
Right.
eventually, as a young woman, a young tween, she could figure out her own skills.
She's got it down. She learned how to survive.
Yeah.
So she's living on her own. She's got 2 boys, as the cover said, Chase and Tate.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Tell me about them.
Okay. So that was definitely something where I was like, I need to look at this book again because I don't know who they are.
I did too.
So Chase is the all-American big man in town,
Yeah.
right?
His parents own the auto shop. Like,
Okay.
so back then that would have been like money. In a little
Yeah.
town like that, it's like probably the biggest place there is, right?
Yeah. And then Tate, his dad owned was it a clam boat?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought him as like a local fisherman, right?
Yep.
Good
Okay.
guy though.
So, but he was the one that helped her. He was the one that taught her how to read, went to the shack with her, right? Got
Yep.
her. Okay. So your question was, how are they similar? How are they different? That's a very tough question.
She was so do you think she was, here's my thing for the people that have not read the book yet.
Yeah.
She has these two guys. They're very different. Chase seems the cool guy, everybody knows him, and Tate seems like the quiet but nice guy.
Yep. I think every girl has them. I think every girl has the boy that is a friend.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was
and then
that's what
there's
I was
the
thinking.
bad boy that they shouldn't like, but they do.
They're more attracted to, right?
Yeah.
So I guess my thing is it gets kind of hard. I don't know. I think she did an awesome job writing it because she made it more complicated, which is probably more like real life.
Yep.
You know, than straightforward. And I think she did that she didn't know Chase, he was always maybe teasing her or whatever. Tate though came and would eventually meet up with her and teach her how to read. Really nice guy. And then though Tate leaves, right? Tate goes off to school and kind of abandons her almost, and doesn't talk to her. And then that's when she actually goes and kind of creates a relationship with Chase.
Yep.
Tate was never really interested though. I don't know. Remind me, it never got physical, did it? Do you remember that?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
So I think that was the difference too. He was the nice guy, hanging out guy, and then she was attracted to Chase, but he was a little bit too pushy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought that part was a little far-fetched because again, like she doesn't, I don't know, she had to teach herself survival skills, but she also didn't have like hygiene.
Right.
Which sounds so, do you know what I'm saying?
No, you're right.
He's a city kid and he's clean and he's probably got nice teeth and he is bathed, and she's wearing the same dress she's been wearing for like 8 years that I don't understand. That part to me was a little bit off. Whereas Tate had some resources, but he was more in touch with the poverty level and the marsh people. I don't know. That part for me was far-fetched.
Interesting that you do that, because as a guy, she presents her as very sexy and wild. You know what I mean? I think that's how she presents her, and Tate looked at her that way. So I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah, but like brushing her hair, and I don't know. That to me, I was like, God.
No, that wasn't even. No,
didn't even cross your mind.
Nope.
Oh,
no, it didn't. Because you just think of, I don't know, it didn't. I mean, yeah, when you're younger, and you're right, it did in the story, because the way she writes it, she's presenting her as this scrappy little thing that's just barely getting by, and the neighbors that are looking at her as this dirty thing walking down the street. Ooh, that's the marsh girl, whatever. But I think she presented her, at least in my mind, as like, oh, now look at her, she's grown up, she's wearing the same dress since she was 8. But it wasn't about it wasn't about being a dirty dress. It was about being like
now she fit it. Now
better.
Yes, that part I do remember too. Like, right. I remember her very specifically saying like, now she filled in the curves, and now it was like cinched on her waist. But and they made a big to do also about, I think you're going to get to this question next, about Mabel and Jumpin'. But Mabel would get her clothes, right? Didn't she give her some like
they hook her up.
Yeah.
Yep. So who's Jumpin'?
Jumpin' was the guy that ran the clam boat, and he would buy her clams off her, right?
Right. He owned, the way I pictured it, it was
A
like a
worm
little
store.
shop. Yeah, like a
Like
little
a,
shop that
mhm.
might be like, any fisherman needed
Yep.
whatever they needed, they kind of got from her. And so she figured out a way to make a living was to collect clams for him, and he was actually doing her a favor. He acted
Yeah.
like he wasn't doing her a favor, but he kind of was.
Yeah.
So he could kind of make a living to buy necessities,
Yep.
probably to brush your teeth, Jen. Probably buying toothpaste.
And I think, I don't know. I'm gonna go back and look for toothpaste, but that was never
I
mentioned.
don't know. I thought the one thing that they never, and I don't have this as a question, so I didn't tell you, but I just thought of this.
I knew you'd spring something on me.
Yeah, the scene when the guys, the boys from town, and Chase might have been one of them, but were calling, jumping in Mabel or Black,
Yep.
and they lived in the black part of town,
Yep.
and they were walking back to their home, and they were getting harassed by a bunch of white boys from town.
Okay.
And she came out, and I don't remember, did she confront them, or did she just see it happen? I think she confronted them.
I don't remember.
But my point is, though, is I think it was such an interesting part of the book that never really came out, because neither Mabel nor Jumpin ever knew about it. But it showed that she was kind of protective of them, as like they were protective of her.
Yeah.
They were kind of looking out. And there was a quote I remember Mabel once saying later in the book was like, um, I'll be your mama, or I wish I was your mama, or something like that. So they were
Yeah,
just
for
two
sure.
people.
I
Yeah,
was gonna just
they
say
felt a
that,
connection to her.
and that's part of which also made it a little more believable when you go back to what you first asked me. Like,
Hmm.
once she had someone looking out for her, and um, you know, while she was this pitied old swamp girl, like, again, just the snips that I tried to reread, she went to the grocery store for the first time and didn't even know how to count money. So the
Right,
lady instinctively knew to teach her, I got to show her how much this costs and how.
right.
So everybody kind of had a little hand in
True.
helping her get to where she was. So she wasn't on her own entirely. And especially with Mabel and Jumpin', they kind of took on that parental role.
I think you're right, especially because the town, she was not unknown. It was such a
Right.
small town that everybody knew who she
Right.
was. That almost probably helped her a little bit,
Yep.
in
Yep.
a way, even though they didn't like her and they kind of pushed her away. But I think little situations like that probably got her by. Um, I don't know. I was thinking about this thing about a woman in her life, because she has these two boyfriends that she talks to. She has
Yeah.
I wouldn't even ask a story. Her brother comes back from Vietnam just to check on her, finds out
Mhm.
that her mom passed away. His name was Jody. He's
Mhm.
in and out. But I mean, every character except for Mabel,
Mhm.
who's, and she's not even, Jumpin is the main character. Mabel's
Mhm.
just kind of the sidekick to him.
Mhm.
Do you think, I was just wondering, do you think that means anything? Do you think she was trying to show anything? Or I just found it odd. You're writing about this girl growing up by herself. Maybe it just made her more wild. I was just wondering, why isn't there another woman that plays predominantly in this book?
And all the women that are, except for Mabel, all the
Hmm.
women that make an appearance have a negative
Hmm.
role. The
Hmm.
girls from town, the social worker, like,
Chase's mom.
yep, yep, yep. No, I don't know, except I'm sure there was some intent, but maybe I would have to say that if there, the lack of women, I think just proves that she doesn't, I don't know, that she doesn't
That
need them. She was
that
far more on
she
her
just had
own.
it that or that she just had it that much harder. Nobody really
Yeah.
to, maybe that just made her that much more alone.
Yeah.
They're trying to show that she's alone. Um, I think the point of the book, and I'm talking as I think, but one of the things is just to show her oneness with nature. And maybe if she had a woman there, maybe that would have drawn her out of that. I don't know. Just
I
a
don't know.
thought, you know. Um, She learns again. This goes back to my point just now. She's almost one with nature. She
Yeah.
learns to live from animals.
Yeah.
Uh, that's going to come into play. I think the main animal, she's close with is the seagulls.
Yep.
She likes to those are like her buddies.
Yep. A little
She,
weird.
yeah, a
It's a
little weird.
little weird.
She talks to them, right?
Uh-huh.
She knows their movements and stuff.
Yeah.
She
But
just
I
pays
also
attention. Yeah, go
thought it
ahead.
was cool. Not so much. I'm looking at your questions. No, not so much animals, but just I thought it was really cool how in tune she was to nature. Like
Mhm.
she knew the tides, she knew the moons, she knew the animals and their behavior because of those things. Like I don't know. I find that
She had to be,
intriguing.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and she had to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
she knew every little thing about dusk and dawn and yeah, the
Wind and
animals.
sun and smells and just sometimes
And
that
she
stuff.
learned that on her own, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
just from observation.
Yeah.
Going with that too, uh, we're going to find out later, but throughout the book there are these poems, right?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Sure. No, but keep going.
So I didn't remember it either, but
Okay.
as I was reading it, I remember these poems, and they were okay. And I think at the end, even Tate says these poems are okay, but
Yeah.
they're all about nature, and they're decent, but they're all about, like you said, the tides and all this stuff
Mhm.
that's coming together. And it's by an author named Amanda something.
Okay.
But at the end of the book, spoiler alert, guys, one of the things that Tate's going to find out, and we're just skipping ahead a second, is
Yeah.
that she has been writing these poems the whole time.
Right. I
That
do
she is
remember that.
actually the author. She is actually, her nom de plume is Amanda Hamilton. She's a
Yeah.
poet, and she's been sending these off. Now, I think that's great and all, but we're going to jump to another thing. What else was her?
Okay.
What else got her all the money that she was able to eventually, as she grows up, she meets these
Is
boys.
this a
She
trick
has a
question?
no.
Are you testing me at like that's a test question?
So think about her alibi. Where
Yeah.
was she? Where was she for her alibi?
The shack.
No.
Darn it. Give me a
She was
hint.
she was meeting with her oh no, I can't think of his name. Her book distributor.
Okay.
Remember, she was writing books because she would
The
draw.
paintings.
Yeah, she would make a book about all the nature around her.
Yep.
And Tate Tate would say, "Wow, you're really good at this. I'm going to collect your drawings." He sent it into a publisher.
Yep.
And she made all these volumes of books,
Yes.
which allowed her to make money. She was able to eventually buy the land she was on, which I thought was pretty cool.
I thought that was very cool.
It is cool. She knows about nature. But I think the far-fetched thing, and again, I don't know if I'm just looking for things to criticize, and we'll jump to it in the end. The ending, Tate finds two things out about her. One we'll get to in a minute. But the other thing is that she's been this author that writes these poems.
Mhm.
So, number one, the thing that he finds out about her at the end is big enough. Why add that she was the poet? Two, she's been writing. She's very successful in writing these books on the local
nature.
Yep. They're found in bookstores. They're all over the country.
Yep.
Why add the poet thing?
I don't know.
It just seems like a little bit much.
Clearly it wasn't significant because I didn't remember that it was I mean, like that doesn't even strike me as something that was important to the character. So I don't know, except to
show us what she's
her growth.
Yeah, exactly. It's showing her relating with Mother Nature. So what they would do in the book is if I remember correctly, is they would talk about her relationship looking at these fireflies, let's say for instance, and what the fireflies were doing. And then there'd be a poem by this lady named Amanda Hamilton about fireflies. And so the whole book, you're thinking that she's reading this about fireflies and she's seeing it and she's observing. And what you later find out is no, we're watching her observe, and then later she's writing this, and this is actually her.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a layer. I think it's a cool layer, but I think there's just so much, like you said, you can't even hang on to that at the end. And I didn't hang on to it until I went back and looked at it again. The big thing of the book, the main thing is a murder mystery.
Yeah.
Who's dead?
Who died? Yeah. You want me to spoil it? I mean, that's in like page 20.
You find out who died early. And
Chase.
Chase died.
Yes.
Okay. He dies in the beginning.
Yep.
And who did you think did it? We're spoiling this one because guess what?
Yeah.
I haven't spoiled any yet, and this one I think can be spoiled. So who did you think in the beginning did it?
Oh gosh. I Let's put it this way, and maybe this is a cop out. I did not. Okay, this is the spoiler alert. I did not think it was her. At the end, I was like, it shocked me, and I remember talking to my mom. It did shock me. Yeah, I remember talking to my mom. I'm like, can you believe it? She's like, I cannot believe it. And my
I'm with
mom's
you.
like, murder mystery queen.
So, okay, she did an excellent job. I think
Mm-hmm.
the author did an excellent job because
Yeah.
she tricked me when, in the beginning, they were telling me about one point where she was covering the tracks of some animal. They were
Yep.
actually showing an animal covering its tracks up. And
Yep.
then they go to the murder scene and they're like, wow, this must be an accident because there's no tracks. And I'm like,
Yep.
I was telling Kim, I'm like, well, shit, they just gave it away.
Yeah.
She did it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no way. This whole
What?
book's about her learning about Mother Nature. So I'm like, she did it. And then it got me. Who did you think did it after you didn't know it was her? Who would your prime suspect?
I don't know. Who are my options? Because I don't, again, Tate.
Chase or Tate. Yeah. Tate or
They talked a lot about Chase jumping.
or him.
That
Was it an accident? Was it
Yeah.
an accident? Which seemed legit, really,
Mhm.
for a while. I mean, people leave those gates open and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I really went. I don't know if you remember this scene, and I think this is where I think the book is really good, is where he was out there on the boat, and she sees the cops pull up around him,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh shit, God damn.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, of course he did it.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, of course he did it. It makes sense. He's jealous. He knows what he's did. It just plays with his character. He's always the good guy. Of course, he came back and did it. Well,
Did he
did it.
know? Did
No.
he didn't know until the end.
No.
That's right. When
Well,
he
that's the other
discovered.
thing I forgot. Right. So, just for people that don't know, she has a good alibi, a really good alibi. She's away in a different town the night that he dies. People think they see her on a boat. They have a big court case.
Yep.
And at the end, I wrote down what the judge said because I thought it was pretty interesting. The judge says at the end, it's time to be fair to the Marsh girl, meaning that our society has been so unfair to her whole life. It's time to be fair to her. And at the end of that, how did you feel? I felt awesome. I mean, I thought we didn't know who killed the guy yet, but did you feel like that was the right verdict when you heard that? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, you felt secure enough. You thought, wow. And you believed her because she did such a good job making that character. You followed her.
The character, 100%. Again, I know we've talked about weird little things like, why would you put in poetry? Or that seems a little far-fetched. But for the most part, 100% believable as a character.
Yes.
Like all the quirkiness, you're like, well, that's weird, but this kid is weird. Or that's weird, but she lives somewhere different than me. So what do I know?
And I thought the characters of Chase and Tate were good overall.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, they're a little stereotypical of what, girls kind of have. But I don't think the Tate leaving was kind of, whoa, he's not contacting her. He's not even getting back to her. He kind of abandoned her.
Yes.
I didn't expect that. But so here's what I forgot too. Is
are you gonna spring another surprise question?
No. Well, maybe. But they lived happily ever after that. And until I went back in the book again, I forgot. She and him are 64 years old.
What?
Do you remember that? Yeah, I didn't remember. But I had to read the last chapter. She's 64 years old, and he pulls up on a boat. She was out. I don't know what she was doing on the boat. And her and Tate were together. They never had kids I forget. I don't think they could have kids, but it mentioned that. And then that's when he's like cleaning up her stuff in the house, and he finds out that she's the poet.
I'm looking through the pages. That's what I'm doing.
And then, no, you're good. He finds out she's the poet, and then at the end, he finds this shell necklace that they knew was on him when he died, but
Yep.
was not there on the body. So at the very end, we find out that she did it. So did that make you mad? I know people that hate the book because of that ending.
Why? Because she tied it all neatly together.
They hate the book because I think they like the character without being a killer.
Oh, see, as
I
I'm
could have taken it
reflecting
either
back,
way.
I'm looking through. Kyle lay on the spot, blah blah blah. Now that I don't remember that they. First of all, I love a good murder mystery, so that would not have dissuaded me from like, oh, I used to like this book. I like when they catch me at the end, and I like
Me
being
too.
surprised. I love it.
Yeah.
When you said that they ended up happily ever after, that would seem to me like a weird thing, and I don't know why. Again, her as an independent character was probably just fine with me, and now I'm like, what do you mean she needed a dude at the end?
Yeah. Did you see where I saw that
No,
though? So
no.
let me find it. Jumpin' died. Here it is, 363. Tate and Kaya hoped for a family, but
Yep.
child never came.
Okay.
They were seldom separated for more than a few hours of any day.
Yeah.
See, and so they were there, and then I think the next page at 64, Kaya's long black hair
Yep.
turned as white in sand, and so he went out there and finds her, and then finds out that she did the murder or killed Chase.
Yes.
So you didn't. For me, I think I can understand where people were angry just because it did feel nice and neat wrapped up before that.
Yeah.
And you had this idea of her, and then now you do have to kind of be like, okay, well, let me go back to the reasons why she did it. You kind of have to really empathize with her again.
Yep.
And change your whole thinking. I think some people just probably rather not have done that. But do you think it, not that murder's okay, but can you see where, I mean, I can see
Where are you going with this question, Michael?
Can you empathize? Do you not hate her? Do you
No, I don't hate
okay
her.
with her?
Not
Right.
at all. Totally okay with her.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
And
especially like, again, a female perspective. Number one, she's not like I don't know. She's a survivor. She's a fighter. It's her instinct. I think that
she was being preyed upon.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all have a primal instinct of protection.
Especially when you're learning everything in your whole life from nature.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So she's learning a whole thing from nature. She's getting preyed upon by this dude who really read the book. And the thing is if you have not read the book and you're getting these spoilers, there's still so much to it because, Chase was never going to be with her. He lied to her, but he still wanted to be with her sexually and was pressing. And so all these things, he was really a prey to her. And then her natural instincts kicked in. And I did not remember this either. And this was after I sent you questions.
Thanks
her last
a lot.
poem, her last poem was about fireflies.
Yep.
Okay. And do you know why that was special?
No. It's a trick. This is another trick question. Are you going to tell me about science and how, like,
well, it is. It's about
female fireflies lure in the males.
There you go. See, it's not.
And then they kill them, don't they?
Right.
Yeah.
So what I found interesting was they emit a light pattern to attract males of a different species and eat them. So it's not like, and he was a different species.
Yes.
She was kind of the wild one. He was kind of a different species.
Yep.
And so the funny thing is, this is where everything goes together. Her as a person that was learning from Mother Nature saw this happening.
Yep.
Then you have the poem in the book, which is her other thing that she did. She had the poem, and then she acted it out. She killed Chase.
Yep.
Because he was threatening her, because she saw herself as, living within Mother Nature. It's part of what nature does.
Yeah.
And it shows her strength that, hey, in the end, she's got to do what it takes to survive. And if she didn't do that, what would happen? Right.
Right. Yeah. When was that? Not in the book, but do you remember the year?
1969 that they found the body. So she was about 17 or 19. because I don't know if she was born in 1952 or she was just a little kid in 1952. So
No,
she was in her
I feel like
early
she was
20s.
like, I feel like they say that she's like 7. So
When
would
what?
that be 45? She
Oh,
littler than that?
so she was so she would have been, yeah, in her early 20s, probably like 23, 24, right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, because Tate went away to college and all that he had already come back.
Yes.
So that would have been about the right time period.
Yes.
So
I'm just trying to look and see if it says it. Okay. I don't see it.
what was your would you recommend this book?
Yes.
What do you
Yep.
think the best part about it was?
Like the best part in the book, or why did I like it?
Why do you like it so much?
I remember loving the storytelling.
Mhm.
One thing that always intrigues me is books that switch back and forth between
Mhm.
like either time periods or characters.
Yeah.
So if chapter 1 is Kai, like they tell it in time frames, so 52, 69, 53,
I
things
agree.
like that. Or like what other book was it? The Before We Were Yours. They switch
Mhm.
from like characters. So one person's telling it here, one person's telling it here, which I I like that.
Me too.
Um and again, I like the murder mystery part of it, which I wasn't really expecting that. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that from it when I just saw the cover, heard the
Mhm.
title. That was not what I was. I
I
don't read
agree.
blurbs.
I don't think I expected the mystery. Um, I think my biggest thing was a lot of times when I find very popular books,
Mm-hmm.
hesitant to read them just because sometimes the story is great, but the writing for
Yeah.
somewhat is just so boring. The one of them was a book that I read that, man, the writing is just so let's just say like Twilight or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When
Yep.
they're really, really popular, the prose is just not there. And
Yep.
Delia Owens, I think she's got it all. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's beautiful writing.
Yep.
The way she shows nature and everything, you're enjoying just when she's talking about the little things of her being alone and being out there. And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, that's really kept me involved as much as the story did,
And
which
she's
was a pleasant
super
surprise.
descriptive. Like
Yeah.
you can picture the scene, like you pulled
Mhm.
out that one, but you could do it 100 different ways.
Yep.
Um, you can picture, sorry. Okay, my kid's on her way home.
Awesome.
um,
Where's she at?
oh, down at a neighbor's house swimming.
Uh,
There's one downstairs watching TV. I don't know what. Like when she describes the shack, you
mhm.
can totally picture yourself in
I
the
don't
shack.
agree.
When she describes
Her
um
dad, her pa,
anything.
same thing. Yep.
Yep. Like it's so minute in the details. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally
Right.
get this.
And usually if it's a really popular book, and I
Yeah.
think and that's why I don't usually do those real popular books, is because it's almost like they have to give that up so that because a lot of people aren't used to reading a lot, so
Yeah.
they find that cumbersome.
Yes.
And so the author says, I'm just going to get straight to the story, which draws a
Yeah.
lot of people in. But I think this is why that book was so popular, is it did both. And you don't
Yep.
find that a lot.
No.
You really don't. A lot of the
No.
books, the best literature I read, some of the best literature I read, and I love these books, the prose and the language is so gorgeous, but people say, what's it about? And I'm like, gosh, the stories are nothing. I mean, the story, if I were to tell you what the story was, you're
Yeah.
like, they wrote a book about that? And it's like, how do you explain it to somebody? It's like, well, yeah. Like to the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. Have you ever read
Yeah.
that?
No. I
It's
am not a classic.
it's one of my favorite books. I love it. I mean, you talk about description. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It's a day at a beach with a family, and pretty much she's just it's all her conscious pretty much telling you exactly what she sees and what she experiences. And it blows your mind how real it is. And
Yeah.
that's why you read the book, you put it away like that was amazing. But when they're like, well, what's it about? What should I read it? I'm like, well, it's about
Day
Girl and
at
her
the
family's day at the beach. What happens? They tell you about the rooms and what her mom's thinking and what her, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's why I think these books are awesome. And not
The
that I'd recommend To the Lighthouse though. So I'm not taking anything away
To the
from it.
Lighthouse.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. It's a short one
Okay.
too. You can do it.
I don't know if it has a lot of words. Just because it's short, the words sometimes stumble.
Oh,
I
that's
have
what you tell
what?
like, well, you're a Spanish teacher. I tell my kids, every book I read, I probably still to this day look up 20 to 30 words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I still do. Even if I'm semi, like I think I got that. I circle it, and I may not stop when I'm reading, but
Yeah.
I'll go back and I'll look them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
have to. There was one I just read where I was like constantly looking things up, and I was like, this is annoying. I just need to get through it.
Well,
But
right?
I will.
It
I'm
is.
gonna tell you, not really spoiling, but we were talking about language, and I just was telling my girlfriend today that I was doing this book talk. I just read the new Hunger Games book, the prequel,
I'm gonna get that for
and
my daughter for her birthday coming up. Yeah, we're gonna
and
read it together.
it's really good. And she said, "What's it about?" And I said, "Well, it's about the life of President Snow before he was President Snow." I said, "The only
Oh,
thing I
cool.
didn't like was that at the ending, I sort of felt like that that it just like crammed everything in, and then the book was over, and you're
I
like, ah."
hate that.
And
Yes.
don't let that
No, I know
discourage
what you
you.
mean. No, I know what
But
you mean.
she was like, "Yeah, you can picture the editor like, okay, too many pages,
Okay, you
just
got to
wrap
bring
it
it
up."
to where Hunger Games starts. Right, exactly. How are you going to
Yeah,
get this to where that starts
yeah,
right now? And then she
yeah.
throws
You got
all the
20
shit in.
pages. Go.
Right. Well, she did the same thing. I felt that way with Mockingjay.
So
I felt like so I think she did awesome job on the first two, and then the third one,
yeah,
it was like, hey, we love you. We're going to pay you tons of money, but you have to have it out by August or whatever.
yeah,
And she kind of was like, shit, all right, I'll write an ending. And you
yeah.
felt like she was just writing an ending. You could
Which
feel that there too.
the only reason I can probably agree with you is because honestly, I don't remember that book
I
at all.
don't
I could
much
tell you
either.
the first one and the second one. I'm like, I don't even know if I read the third one.
That's exactly right. I know I
Yeah,
read it because I was waiting to get it and I got it. But
yeah,
the only thing I remember is she rushed through.
yeah,
She made an ending just to make an ending because there's nothing unique about it. There's nothing that stands out. I couldn't tell you. I remember it was more like action packed. You know what I mean? It was almost
yes.
like I remember fighting in the
Like they were
streets.
making it for the movie. Like, can
Right.
you write this book
It
so
was
we can make a movie? Mm-hmm.
exactly. Show me
Yeah,
running through the streets and fighting and stuff.
yeah.
Yep.
So this is another thing I want to mention how we were talking about the perspective. And I don't know why either I've read too many books over this quarantine
Good.
or I just have a different, I don't know. But reading this book, American Dirt, one thing that bothered me about the writing, and I told you that with this book, I like how they kind of flip flop.
Mhm.
I would be in a chapter and she would change the point of view in like from paragraph to paragraph, which
Oh, that's
kind of drove
hard.
me nuts.
It's
I was like,
crazy.
"Ugh," which I don't know
Mhm.
if it was just because it was this story, but I'm like, you can't tell
You
it
got
from
to
Luke.
tell me, right? You got to
Yes,
figure it out. There's a
yes,
book by William Faulkner, The Sound and the Fury,
yeah.
where he does it so much. They actually made a version of the book where the paragraph is color coded to the person that is talking.
Oh,
That's how bad it was. Like
yeah,
literally, if it's purple, it's this guy character talking. It would go purple, green, yellow, whatever, because too many people didn't understand what the heck was going on in his whole
yeah,
book,
yeah.
and it's switching around.
And she tells it from the perspective of third person, so at least I know. But at the same time, I'm like, I can understand, especially if it was the first person and you're like, who's talking right now?
Right,
What is
that's what it
going
was.
on?
Right, right.
Yeah. So
Freaky.
that kind of switch drives me crazy. But yeah.
The
I
one where you
oh
got the chapters is nice. Yeah,
yes.
very nice. I
I
agree.
like it when it's neat. It needs to be tidy.
When you're doing the years one, I agree too, where the years are matching up, and you're trying to put the story together while you're seeing it happen. Yeah,
Yep.
I can't
Yep.
think of it. I can't think of many like that. But oh, I got a good one. The Sea by Banville does that.
Okay.
Oh man, that's a great book. I think I have
Sometimes
somebody signed up to do that one, but if not, well,
what
no, we'll do Dirt. We'll do that.
I
What's
don't
it called?
care. Whatever.
I think I have
Listen,
somebody do the
after
same.
Thursday I got a lot of free time.
And you guys, when do you guys go back? After Labor Day?
No, so a couple of years ago, they were allowed to petition to start before, and our
Oh.
school district. So we start the week before, which technically is only 3 days because we're still not allowed to work Labor Day weekend. God
Mm.
bless the tourism lobby.
Right.
So we do Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday of Labor Day weekend, Monday of Labor Day, we're not allowed to work. So it's just 3 days before, but
Cool.
yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
We'll see if we go back, right? Who knows?
I know. I don't
Crazy.
want to have that conversation. I'm not ready for that. I've had
I
it too
know.
many times.
And look, you made it. See, these are supposed to last 45 minutes, and you
I know.
made it over 45 minutes.
I did. I feel like I didn't
Awesome.
give a lot of information about the
You
book
gave a
because I
ton.
really
This is
wish.
what you do. No, you answered. This is the only reason I like to do it. And like you gave, my whole thing with this was I like to talk about books that I read just for
Yeah.
simple things. Like the whole thing, was that believable with her growing up?
Yeah.
And you gave me exactly like the stuff I'm looking for, just to look at a little bit different.
Yeah.
Otherwise I go on with my own opinion. And so every time I do these, I walk away with, new insight on these books I just read, which I think, and it's fun,
Yeah. And
So
I
you'll
get to
do it
talk to
again?
you. It's only been like 20 years.
I know, it's crazy. It's nuts.
It is.
So I'm
It
so glad
is.
you did this. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I'll be
Thanks
in
for
touch
having me.
for the next
If
one.
anything, if you need me to read any more books, like I know you've got your schedule all mapped out for the future, but
You'll be
if
back.
anything falls through and I need to read something for you, just let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, kiddo.
Okay. Yeah,
Awesome
thanks.
seeing you.
You
You're
too.
awesome.
All right,
Bye.
take care.